Okay. Um, as target individuals, I've been making the same videos here. The reason why I do this is because I just want these people involved in this see how they sound like when they try to make you accept these things. Obviously, I understand this is the game that they try to play. There's a manipulation they want you to accept, and the gaslighting comes in all shape and form. I've been employed by people who employ me for the purpose of breaking me down. I knew the second I was hired there that they had a purpose, a goal to just do things that are negative to me. Right? And they made it clear very easily early on during my interview that we are hiring you, but you understand this. There's a bad purpose for it. We're doing that to torment you, to break you down. And ever since being employed by these people, just like the last video, you see a picture of this woman and you see these people in all shapes try to make you accept this manipulation. And it's crazy. Now listen, I will never look at them as the people responsible for what's happening to me. I was already a target individual. I was being manipulated. I was being tormented before then. And it's funny, today they're like, oh, the reason why I was put, because my actual employer who put me in this program is the reason why I was put in this program. It's funny, like, no, they knew you were this. And that's like, my employer donated money to a man that you can't even speak his name off. You're going to hear the name I'm talking about. Now you look like a clown out here, try to make me accept this manipulation. But for me, it's been disturbing because some of these perps have truly wanted to create this fantasy that these people, it's like it's time for you to pay for what you. I'm looking at this trash. For example, look at this person all the way at the top over there. Oh my gosh. This person created a fantasy that she really, and I'm like, please don't do that to me. Like, don't try to play this game. You will quickly realize that perhaps I'm not going with this flow. Perhaps that I have listened too much of what you guys do. I've been validated of how foul you guys are. This program is how bad it is to people. It's not going to work out well. Look at the previous video when I listen to a woman like that at the bottom, and then seeing the purpose trying to counter that. Obviously, I know what this is about. And obviously, your job is to try to erase that reality and create this fantasy. It's funny how they try to bring up the manipulation I was forced to experience during, like, for example, this woman over there, right? She brings up something. I watch at this point. I'll even watch anime because I'm not the biggest anime fan. I do watch some of it, but I'm not like, it's not my number one go-to thing. It's not my favorite genre. I do enjoy some of it, but because I cannot watch real shows and movies, because if there's a child, which is going to be a child in most movies, they're going to force me to get sexual stimulation. So what they do, so what I try to do now is like watch a cartoon. If they force me to get stimulation and sensation during an animation, then it's like, okay, it's what they do, but at least it's not being done to an actual child. This is a fucking drawing of a child. So it's funny, this woman brings up me watching this anime, right? This like Japanese animations. And there was the child where they were forcing me to get stimulation, then having I'm like, okay, whatever. And this woman here is trying to be like, oh, rewind, because I'm like, you think that makes me feel guilty? Like, I know this is how my life is now, because this program that you're participating in, does what it does to people. It rewires their brain and manipulates them in these disgusting ways. You enjoy your godly feelings right now, but you said something that you don't think it actually means anything to you. You have your time. You get yours. You understand what you're involved in does horrible things to even babies. You know that. This is not... They still try to present themselves as this like femme fatale group of like feminists that will pay. It's like, how much of a client do you have to be? Because you're going to hear how the horror of what they do to women is crazy. Now, not too long ago, I found this testimony of this woman. There's so many other women than her. Every day I can find some new stuff. It's just I don't really dedicate my time to it at this point. But women are saying how they're being sexually tortured. So the clear validation that they are doing horrible things to women, where this woman, you're going to hear it. And I always take a picture next to like a woman of testifying and one of these perps. saying, "Oh, my genitals are being burnt." And I'm hearing this trash. No, this is now you pay. It's time now. I was like, what do you think this is? This is what you're involved in. This woman realized that she's a target individual, and this is why these horrible things happen to her. And she calls out, now I can't believe the government will burn my genitals. Sorry, she said this. I can't believe the government will be burning my private parts, right? You're going to hear that being said. Now, if for them to say it's not real, it's good. It's so fake. It's so fake that you're going to hear that. But if they think that I think this testimony is a false testimonial, and they play their game in front of me, it's not going to be good. There's a reason why a lot of these perps around me are very childish. I'd see them as these childlike individuals. I've been normalizing these things where they try to counter the reality of this woman testimonial. So when I see them and they try to be, no, okay, come on, come in. Burning genitals of women, come on. Women over there say, oh, it's our time. Yes, you heard your time to burn the genitals? Let's go. I've been waiting to capture this person. She's nothing special. Literally one of many. I will forget about her. But there's something about her that she has this entitled reality in her mind. It's like, what do you think? You think I'm going to look at you? I'm like, you don't. It's okay if you involve in the program to torture women in these ways, but you are here making me pay. It's so disgusting. And she will even look at me as like, you're delusional. Do you know that you look at, I'm not an aggressive human being. Imagine you look at somebody who's willing to cause a mass shooting, like so many have already. I know what you're involved in. I know how horrible you are to even children. I know how my brain is being manipulated. I know this is what this program, you looking at me that this is not something I recommend, because you know that I know what you guys do to even babies. You're going to hear that. So I find ways to calm myself down, because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be capable of doing anything. But please understand, when you're looking at me here, I'm thinking about the torture of women, torture of children, these manipulations that you force me to try to make me accept. It's so disgusting. One thing they like to say, oh, she touched it. You know what they try to talk about? About me as a fucking middle school in 8th grade. They're in a program that burned children's genitals. And the entities running this program have had this common issue, which is not even me saying that, but it is a whole bill called End National Defense Network Abuse Act that was created in 2019. Why? Because in 2018, the prior year, this Child Protective Service was ranking networks of the United States, internet network, with child porn. What child porn, what network in the United States has the most child porn? And guess, out of the 2,900 or so network, where the DoD ranked 19th, making them a top tier for child porn trafficking. This is not something I made up. This is really something you're going to hear. Now, if this trash want to block it out, not with me. Block it out remotely. But when you see me and you think this is not real, that's when you're going to ask yourself certain things. I'm not violent. I'm not being threatening of aggression, but I swear that I will not let somebody delude themselves into another fantasy. I could turn on this testimony in front of her. You have this childlike trash being groomed to be this low life, which they're gonna get there. This is how it's gonna happen. I don't care. It's not my business. But you have this validation and the manipulations. Oh my gosh, these people in every way, they've been humiliated. You gotta accept the fact that these people are humiliated. Like, what level of first of all, you torture children. Check, you're gonna hear this. You torture women. Check, you're gonna hear this. You manipulate the brain. Check, you're gonna hear this. You manipulate the brain in a pedophilia ways. Check, you're gonna hear this. You can force sexual stimulation. Check, you can hear this. And then you find out the entity is running this program. We're talking about the DoD. Check, you're gonna hear this. And then you find out the DoD has an issue with pedophilia, in the sense that they have been having a lot of issue with people downloading child porn using the computers given to them by the DoD. And those people are the people working for the DoD. Check, you're going to hear this. Then you're going to hear that some people have been pushed to insanity because of the manipulation, that they end up killing people, causing mass shootings. Check, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear a lot of women being tortured. Check, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear that the thought process is manipulated. Check, you're going to hear this. That is called this offensive or information warfare. Check, you're going to hear this. That the torture, a lot of the torture are sexual torture. Check, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear that your employers are involved in this. Check, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear there's a lot of females involved in torturing women. Check, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear that even babies, infants are being tortured. Check, you're going to hear this. Matter of fact, you're going to hear me say this is impacting men, women, and children all around the world. And then you're going to hear people from all around the world saying what's happening to them. How much more can one have to understand that? You better fucking stop playing this game where you play this fantasy. You're an opportunist low life. If you think that I see you as some kind of femme fatale and you're here making me pay, and trash ass. You forced me to have these disgusting reactions and thought process. They were bringing up when I went to the airport. They love to play with their hair. They think that this is a real thing. They play with their hair every time something happens. Like, what? You stop doing this nastiness. What the? You think you playing your hair is going to make me... Oh my gosh. She's playing with her hair. I'm forgetting how they're torturing children. Now they even forced me to get stimulation. I remember when I go to the airport, my body cam didn't function. That's why I had to get a new one. I see this little, from the corner of my eyes, I'm not even see, it's like a blur. I see this little kid just doing something in here. They stimulate the crap out of me. And they're like, oh, see, that's proof. What a trash. This is the things you literally do. The emotions and reactions that you force people to have if you want to. You can design. My mind now, they try even create a body part that's disgusting. But it's no longer reality. Reality is what they can create. Whatever is happening to my body, for this low life who play God doing whatever they do to my body while doing manipulating my brain, I'm saying, you do this. Now, enjoy. This is your time. You're right. Your time to be God. But you better understand. A clown low life like you, for how easy it was to do these horrible things to people, it's not coming for free. You hear these people doing noise campaign. Nothing. I'm not even phased. Because these clowns are bottom feeders who have to live off reality that's falsified. And they wanted me to let them live a fantasy. And I'm not doing that. I'm not giving them an ounce of anything. I'm not. There's some new people coming in, the new employees and participating. It's like, oh my gosh, listen, don't worry, you just join this thing. You'll get yours real soon. There's a collection of some sort. There's something that comes for what you do. You do these horrible things to people. You torment them in this way. Then you think that because you are part of this big entity involved in this torture, it's not going to happen to you. It comes one way or another. But in the meantime, before this time comes for you, I want you to block out reality. I want you to not listen. I want you to... So let me just say this better while I can. I want to make sure that you turn yourself into a mentally on a spectrum individual. That you deluded reality where I think somebody in the hallway is saying we're not, because they still think that being women, you can see here this majority of women, that being women then blocks out the reality that they are here torturing children. Clown ass shit. This trash they are some fraudulent trash that will get theirs. Doesn't matter what gender you are, whatever age you are, as long as you're involved in a program that can be so destructive to not only men but women and children. And all it takes is some trash wearing the sweatpants and the PJs to do that. Do you understand? This is a sign that anybody can do what they do. For me, it's been a pleasure to just take a picture of them and use them as the face of how low life people can be. And And I wish I could take more pictures of the people around me. Because the humiliating reality of what they're part of. As this church like, yeah, you touching them, yeah, okay. Yeah, burning genitals of babies. Yeah, I talking about try to exaggerate what I did as a child. Why you involved in something that does this to babies, and then finding the embarrassment that you work for governmental entities where there is a whole bill. And let me say that while I open the door called "End National Defense Network Abuse Act." As I'm saying that, like struggle. Yes, I'd rather die in hell than sell my soul to these pedophiles. Listen to the horrible things they do.
So the V2K. So they'll say, we're the Russian government, we're the Chinese government, we're evil aliens, we're Satan's, satanic ritual abuse. And I've heard all the stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis, that people will believe something other than a massive government could do this.
Worked for the Defense Department. She worked on the global mapping of that system. And when I told her what I was going through, all she could say was, "You're on your own." Well, I figured that out. If you would please, I urge you to pass this. I realize you can't enforce it, but if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women.
And I am a victim of organized stalking, electronic harassment, microwave torture, V2K abuse, and I'm asking you to help us end this crime against humanity, which has impacted men, women, children all around the world.
Hi, I'm Wan from Malaysia. My family are targeted individuals. We are victims of cyber torture. And I will not give up. I will fight to the end.
And I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment. And I'm speaking to you on International Targeted Individual Day. I live in the U.S., in Illinois, and I'm a victim of organized
We need this to stop.
electronic harassment, microwave torture.
I've been targeted for 9 years.
24/7.
Please become more aware of this crime and those that the crime is being committed against. We need your support and help in ending this crime.
Hello, my name is Wendy Brown. I'm a targeted individual who is living in New Zealand, but my targeting began in California. I'm an American citizen, and the targeting continues in New Zealand. I'm making this video in remembrance of Targeted Individual Day, our third annual Targeted Individual Day. And I'm asking that every honest-hearted human being open their eyes to a crime.
My name is Jeanette. I am 56 years old and I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am a victim of covert electronic harassment and torture. I am a targeted individual.
Wishes to hand down.
Why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. It's brutally painful. I have a house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, first floor, second floor, 2 garage, backyard, land, everything. Can't live in my house. My neighbors are shooting direct energy weapons through my house. I hold my heart like this. You know why? Because it hurts. I need help. I need you guys to come get me. Come get me. Oh, Lord, because I think I'm dying. I'm making this video
in an attempt to expose this horrific nightmare.
Hello, I'm making this video to honor the third annual Targeted Individual Day. That's August 29th, 2020. My name is Linda Marie Sharp in Mendocino County, California, United States. I am a targeted person and have been for over 12 years. I am electronically tortured by directed energy weapons.
Hi,
My name is Lisa Davis, and I'm in Duluth, Minnesota. I am a targeted individual.
Mrs. Marshall?
Good afternoon. My name is Connie Marshall. I'm a former mayoral candidate from Louisville, Kentucky. I have never been involved in any criminal activity. I found a document in my bank account that said, problem with Kentucky government, check federal government paperwork and file before releasing information to anyone. I am an 8-year victim survivor of assaults by directed energy weapons. The torture I've experienced consists of body overheating, body extremely cold, seizures, heart pain, earaches, itching behind eyes, burning behind eyes, swelling, headaches, involuntary movement of my limbs, exhaustion, speeding and heart racing, hair coming out by the handfuls as if I've had chemotherapy, mind paralysis, being hypnotized or placed in a trance-type state, being tracked by a drone or satellite, controlled dreams, sleep deprivation, V2K, which is voice to skull, projected sound, extreme muscle spasms, and extreme muscle cramps, being made to fall down, blue circles around the pupils of my eyes, and I'm here and you can look at them if you like, low frequency noises in my home, high frequency noises in my home, sexual stimulation, numerous electrical appliances in my home are destroyed, 4 computers, 2 fax machines, 7 telephones, 4 CD players, VCR, DVD players, electrical igniter switch on my furnace, washer and dryer, air conditioner, also my car radio, CD player, and engine were destroyed. I am watched in my home 24 hours a day and followed around everywhere I go, though I do not have a criminal history. When I ran for mayor of my town, I was also attacked at debates and forums. My website is www.justiceforallcitizens.com. Thank you. And I would like to leave these flyers with you all as well.
Ms. Catherine Nestor.
Thanks. My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutman to begin today. There is new work for the Commission for Human Subject Protection on our shores. And please give us a dramatic response, Susan. And please give us a congressional hearing. Thank you.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again, and last night was pretty extreme. I can feel it's going to be the same again today. Already on the harming of the private parts of my body. Don't really know what to do. I tried to go to a doctor to get some kind of pain medicine because what actually happens to me, what is happening to me is my actual physical body is being burned. And so it causes me to go into shock, and it's excruciatingly painful. And I have my limitations on the duration and length of pain that I can handle. So it was a couple of weeks ago, I tried to go to the hospital, and they, I talked about write in and take over a hospital. And it seems that is a very real reality in a lot of capacities of the things that I faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety. because the government's burning the private parts of my body.
Language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy sessions and had been making incredible progress on all of her therapy goals. This was used to threaten extreme torture on me, making me scream and cry, etc. They would make the kids act out the kinds of torture that would later be done on me. For example, they would also sometimes make her bite her hand, used to threaten me with severe sexual torture. One day I also observed her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on one or two occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe pain. I asked him what was wrong and if he needed to use the restroom, but he said no to having to use the restroom and was not able to verbalize anything more due to his language delay. He looked puzzled and bewildered. Even though I had stated that it was time to do more work right before this incident, I quickly just let him play another game, and he quickly returned to his joyful, happy self again. In other sessions, he has also grabbed his crotch and said, "Ow," while looking up at me, involving many combinations of sensory and motor manipulation of my mind and body, and of the people around me. This includes many different types of zaps to varying degrees to the genitals, butt, anus, and the entire pelvic area. This also includes many kinds of movements, such as the rocking, swaying, jolting, vibrating, and shaking of my entire body or various body parts, specifically in a sexual way. The severe vibration is a highly noxious stimuli and is very intolerable. They sometimes do pulses or throbbing sensations on the genitals too, etc. There are also body movements such as rocking my pelvic area back and forth, repeated rubbing sensations, the sensation of something going up my crotch and in and out, etc. They also often force vaginal discharges and zap my genitals at the same time. These sexual assaults are present throughout the day, every day, and anytime I am awakened at night, every night. They range from mild to extreme, but usually involve daily and nightly continuous assaults for the past 3 years now. When severe, the zaps to the genitals feel as though someone is electrocuting my genitals repeatedly.
If you talk to the victims, the TIs, one of the worst breakdowns, and it's pretty common. I think I can say the word simulated rape. And forced orgasm.
You can say anything you want. This is the internet.
Okay. And so simulated orgasms and rape is extremely common, and especially violating for women. They complain about that torture breakdown the most.
but I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, you're going to be shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voices Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they think it's nothing wrong with them, basically, you know?
You feel that you've been injustice?
You mean as far as the Justice Department feeling me?
Well, in terms of your being a victim.
You mean what I'm feeling?
Yeah, explain a little bit to me how you perceive yourself as being.
I have actual photographs of burns on my body. When I went to my doctor, the response was, how do I know you didn't do that to yourself? How do you even address that? I've passed 2 psychological evaluations, not 1 but 2. The one physician said, you're mentally sound as a bell. He said, I don't have any idea what's going on with you. When I go to sleep, when I go to try to sleep, I feel like I'm being lit up like a Christmas tree. I feel every cell in my body just bouncing out of my body. I can't even describe it. I get electric shock up my rectum. I get electric shock up my nose. I've woken up with burns on the end of my tongue. I've had burns on the palms of both of my hands. I vibrate. I can barely hold a piece of paper without quivering. Does that answer your question?
I'm trying to find what's the source of these.
The source are these exotic weapons. They talk about in 2970 that if you would pass it, it might give other communities the courage to do the same thing and show our Defense Department we are not the enemy. We are not to be attacked. We are not terrorists. Most of us are defenseless women. Hello, my name is Kimberly Buckner, and I have been a targeted individual for a very long time. The things I have experienced due to being targeted, they have been unreal. But however, I can personally attest that this is very real indeed. My life has been destroyed in every possible way, and every day has been a struggle for me. I am very grateful to be before you today due to Amy Anderson's due diligence and to everyone else involved. I thank you, council members, for giving us targeted individuals a chance to speak and to be heard. And I pray that these atrocities will soon be brought to an end. But we need your help. Thank you.
Alex?
Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Crawford. I'm here from the state of Michigan. I wanted to speak about biotechnology applications being utilized on my person. I have medical reports showing eye damage being done to my eyes. My eyes does not have a mirror image. I also have nano wiring inside my eyes. I have pictures of the actual implants from the eye doctor. Once enlarging the nano implants, you will see a copy of the actual particles in my eyes. I have CAT scans, MRIs, and PETs showing wiring, nano wiring in my head. This is my brain. It's straight from the right side to the left side of my head. I also have implants in my chin, in the chin region on both sides. One side shows a wire, the other side shows the actual implant. Implant particle devices coming down through here. Projectiles of the nanoparticles on the side of my head. Enlarged pictures. These crimes is happening in America. This is a domestic problem, not only international. The victims is not being just victimized individually. We are being victimized and our family members as well. Gang stalking tactics and harassment was utilized to implement us into this program unconsensually.
Leslie, I think your comments reinforce much of what we've heard. And if you don't mind, I'd like to make room for others at the microphone now, since it seems to be reinforcing. Juan, I'd ask you to pick somebody, this gentleman right here. Yeah.
She's been waiting.
I'm sorry, who's been waiting? Oh, yeah, please.
My name is Eugenia Durden.
I'm sorry, Eugenia?
Eugenia Durden, yes. Everything I've heard from this commission and this panel about ethics, they were mostly talk about pharmaceuticals research, but I haven't heard anyone talking about a psychotronic weapon research or bioelectromagnetic weapon research. Who in this panel are familiar with the psychotronic weapon? Raise your hand, please. Who of you know about psychotronic weapons? Any one of you? Psychotronic bioelectromagnetic weapons. Are you familiar with that?
Not at all.
No? Okay. In this audience, is anybody familiar with a psychotronic weapon? Okay. Okay, the audience is familiar with that, and I think that in order for a panel or a commission to be able to help this problem and this issue, we'll have to have more knowledge on what psychotronic weapons are. I am physically leashed from my neck to the electromagnetic power of one of the weapons that is being used against me. I get tortured day and night. At night it's with nightmares and all kinds of dreams that I don't want in my head. And throughout the day is my body. They prod with my neurological system, so they do anything to my body.
Miss Anya Briggs?
My name is Anya Briggs, and I am a private citizen and resident of New York City. I have been and continue to be experimented on against my will and without my permission as a human test subject and as a targeted individual forced into trauma-based mind control programs. Because of this ongoing experimentation, torture, and abuse since 2008 and before, I have endured the following physical and psychological symptoms: extreme, debilitating, and chronic fatigue, weakness, and dizziness for days and weeks at a time. Lack of motor control, as well as the sensation of being physically controlled by an unseen force. My left arm occasionally experiences pain and discomfort from an object of unknown origin moving under my skin and being activated somehow. I have an unusual dental filling of unknown origin on the side of one of my back upper right teeth and no memory of having this procedure done. And I have x-ray printouts and a signed affidavit from my dentist stating this. Said dental filling causes me sharp pain, discomfort, and sensitivity. I have experienced extreme itching, burning, and pain in my right leg that turned into an intense bright pink and then disappeared completely after several minutes, and I have photographs of this happening in real time. I have had a stretched uterus, and yet I have never consciously, and to my knowledge, been pregnant. I have had equidistant sores that have appeared on both of my subscapularis muscles at the same time. I have been drugged. I've been abducted from my home. I've had guns pointed at my head. I've had death threats. And
Dr. John Hall, I'm a medical doctor from Texas. As I understand the memorandum from the president, it's for you to determine if current legislation is adequate in protecting individuals and if there's any ongoing experimentation. In reviewing the common rule, it's very obvious that there's a lot of loopholes to informed consent. All of the horrific experiments you've mentioned, Willowbrook, MK Ultra, radiation experiments, mostly were done without informed consent. They were funded by the DOD and intelligence agencies, where I'm not even so sure you would know if there's an IRB, much less if an IRB is looking at informed consent. As a physician, Relative to some of what you're hearing today in the community, we are seeing an alarming rate of complaints of use of electromagnetic weapons, microwave auditory effects, silent sound spectrum, EEG cloning, which has taken the lab out of the laboratory and into the home. Most of these, from the research that we reviewed, can be done remotely. It seems to be more weapons research than medical research. I personally corresponded with upwards of 1,500 victims, all complaining of identical complaints from every state in the nation of being exposed to electromagnetic radiation, non-ionizing radiation for the use of cognitive control or behavior control. I submitted a paper to you, and there's another paper submitted to each member from another physician in Kansas City, alluding to the same thing.
Thank you.
Designed to interact with the human nervous system in order to remotely pick up on someone's neural network or EEG, and not only receive that and monitor it, but manipulate it and place it back into the victim to control their emotions or control their actions or bodily functions, for that matter. The other more recent term we have for that is EEG heterodyning or EEG cloning. The difference between EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning would be, let's say, me remotely receiving your EEG and then duplicating it and putting that in another person to give them your same thoughts or feelings or physical reactions. EEG heterodyning would be receiving your EEG, manipulating it to put it back inside your head to give us a desired physical reaction or emotional reaction.
Into an individual's head. And once you can do that, you can control them using neuro-linguistic programming techniques. You're rewiring their thought processes and brains. And so this gets into what's called offensive information warfare. And they used it, I believe, in the Gulf War to tell the enemy at that time, lay down your guns, this is Allah. And it worked pretty well, because hearing voices which have no direction or sound, you have to assume that it's some spiritual entity. So it works pretty well. And then, I don't know if I'm going to get into this, but there's something called hyper game theory. How do you, they want to see if they can manipulate people to do things that are irrational, but also walk them to their death. And so you can call it a eugenics program even. And they need to sample all cultures, language throughout the world to define their probability matrices of which tricks, techniques, deception works. So how do you control a brain? Most people don't believe that. Oh, you can't control me. I have my own free will. There's no way you can get to my soul. Well, sorry, that's not true.
That this person developed delusional disorder. This is a paranoid schizophrenia. But first of all, nobody develops paranoid schizophrenia in the 50s, in their 50s. This is, if you haven't developed it by 30, it's not. Then this technology exists. These nefarious programs exist. And it's hard to imagine for a person that, why would you do something like this? But if you think about the new type of warfare,
cognitive warfare.
Exactly, it's a cognitive warfare. You don't have to kill people that you are fighting against. You can just degrade their brain. You can
you alter their minds.
Yeah, alter their minds,
personalities,
and it's like Chinese torture. I mean, okay, so
V2K, or voice to skull. This involves the projection of voices, noises, and music directly into my mind to communicate with me in real time. and at the speed of thought. And it also includes the manipulation of thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in the person's mind. Additionally, the targeting is all highly perverted and sexual, as well as just.
This is a common breakdown tactic of belief systems and the human will. In no-touch torture, the techniques are more psychologically specialized for each target. Most common examples include homosexual targets that are forced with voices that are derogatory to their lifestyle and similar mental images. Almost all targets are forced to view child pornography in their minds, and vice versa.
Referred to as what is referred to as malodorance. This is the alteration of the smell sensation so that I am often made to smell various things, including smoke, burning, dirty diaper, or baby powder, which they sometimes combine with the pedophilia type of torture, including the threat of planted dreams and videos in my.
It is dramatic. It's somebody trying to end my life. It's somebody trying to end who I am as a person. It's somebody trying to take over my mind, putting thoughts of pedophilia. This disgusting things. You saw where I was going with that first word. Disgusting things that I don't even want to talk about because it makes me sick. I don't even like those words in my mind. But it is what it is. So I have no choice now but to acknowledge that there are people in my surroundings or whatever they're doing. I don't know how they do it. I don't care. I don't know if it's through weapons.
Began a program of perversion. First was with my dog. I am very playful with my pet, and suddenly one day that I was petting him I felt strange, in the sense of the word. I thought, this is strange, and then afterwards that strange sensation continued. Then in that moment I realized that was impost, so I thought, look at this losers, don't know how to put me down, and they are doing this. So I told them that I know what you are trying to do, and I started laughing, and then I said again out loud, you'll never take my will, ASS, so just to show them that I meant what I said, I kept playing with my dog, and even though that attacks continue, I don't let them get me. Today, they continue with the programming of perversion, but this time they are aiming in the use of people, better said young people, also children and homosexuals.
Body. This technology can be used to sexually manipulate the target. It can make the target feel sexual arousal, or it can sort of turn off the.
In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior. The project reportedly ended in 1969, but DARPA's investigation of how machines can affect and possibly control the brain continues to this day. It can be altered. In 1965, DARPA launched Project Pandora, which studied the possibility of using microwave radiation to control human behavior.
Has come under investigation for links to the proliferation of graphic material. Called Project Flicker, some 5,000 individuals have been identified as having subscriptions to child porn sites, including many DoD-affiliated persons. So this ongoing national investigation has now prompted the House to introduce a bipartisan bill that would help the DoD stop the use of its network to, quote, possess, procure, or produce child pornography. Joining us to discuss this, investigative journalist Ben Swan. So Ben, the Pentagon already takes measures to limit worker access to stuff like porn by rolling out what they call the Personal Electronic Device PED policy, where workers have to drop off their phones and lockers before entering their offices. All their online searches are accessible by security if or when needed. Their Wi-Fi access is monitored in digital security sweeps. So how is this happening?
Well, it's happening because even though there is a certain amount of limitation on access, those who are working in the Department of Defense, clearly it appears to be thousands of individuals in the Department of Defense, are finding ways around this, specifically by using the Department of Defense IP addresses and also apparently peer-to-peer sharing within the department's network. So this study that was done on this issue, and it is pretty horrifying, Manila, to consider this. It shows that the Department of Defense ranked 19th out of almost 3,000 networks in terms of peer-to-peer sharing of child pornography. That is absolutely incredible. This bill attempts to essentially say, look, we're not doing enough to stop it from coming in, but we're also not doing enough in the Department of Defense to go after those individuals who were being recognized as the ones who were perpetrating this.
So Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger is the co-author to this bill. She said this, quote, "The notion that the Department of Defense's network and Pentagon-issued computers may be used to view, create, or circulate such horrifying images is a shameful disgrace and one we must fight head on." Now, the fact that the Pentagon workers, be they civil or military or otherwise, already submit to a gauntlet of daily scrutiny just going in and out of work, is it fair then to the tens of thousands who are completely innocent to further allow that much more government intrusion into their digital devices or the things that they're dealing with on their computers?
Well, remember that what's being talked about here is not an intrusion into someone's personal device or even their home. This is about saying Department of Defense computers are being misused to share, to spread, to access child pornography. And when you step into an office, whether it's a Department of Defense office or it's the offices at RT America, wherever you go into an office.
Why are so many pedophiles allowed to be given top-level security clearance? Remember, these aren't just people walking in off the street and saying, hey, can I get hired? Can I get a job? You're put through an extremely rigorous background check screening process. It's called an SSBI, single scope background investigation. There are people, they interview you, they interview your family, they interview your contacts, they go through your online footprint, they go through everything. So why is it that when they're going through these footprints, they're not checking, these digital footprints, they're not checking for so many pedophiles getting through their ranks? If it were up to me, you need to go into Congress, and Congress needs to launch a brand new church committee, number one, to talk about domestic surveillance operations, but number two, to ask the question, why are there so many pedophiles sitting behind
CIA raping children and sexually assaulting children, and they're not being prosecuted? Where are you?
Oh. They'll say we're the Russian government, we're the
According to child pornography watchdog Internet Crimes Against Children Child Online Protective Services, the Defense Department network consistently ranks in the top tier of Internet service providers for trafficking child pornography. It ranked 19th of nearly 3,000 networks surveyed in 2018.
Potentially making this. The Defense Department releasing brand new details into an investigation involving child pornography and dozens of its workers and contractors, some with top-level security clearance. Not only are these very serious accusations, but investigators say some of the people involved were handling the nation's most sensitive secrets, potentially making this a matter of national security. Chief Fox Report correspondent Jonathan Hunt with the news. Appalling story, Jonathan. Do we know more about these people and their security clearances?
Well, we don't know their exact job titles, John, but what we do know is that they did appear to be working, some of them, at high levels across a range of government agencies. Take a look at this, for instance, the National Security Agency, the National Reconnaissance Office, and the very secretive Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Why? Was a mentally unstable individual. This shotgun is the primary murder weapon. On it, he etched a number of carvings, including "End to the Torment," "Better Off This Way," and "My ELF Weapon." Alexis had been hearing voices and believed he was being bombarded by microwaves, something naval authorities knew about.
There are multiple indicators that Alexis held a delusional belief that he was being controlled or influenced by extremely low frequency, or ELF, electromagnetic waves.
And in his computer files, the FBI found this.
A document retrieved from the electronic media stated, quote, "Ultra-low frequency attack is what I've been subject to for the last 3 months. And to be perfectly honest, that is what has driven me to this."
And so on what should have been a routine day, Alexis killed 12 people. mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. Diane, they never had a chance, and still no answers as to why so many red flags were missed.
As you say, so many red flags. Thank you, Pierre.
About his time spent here in New Mexico.
As sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me.
May had worked as a prosecutor in Las Cruces just weeks before the shooting. In his last words, May speaks of his paranoia and coins himself as a targeted individual who's been a victim of stalking and harassment. He talked about a trip to Houston where he said cars would drive by and honk their horns every 10 minutes to keep him on the edge and agitated.
Father, forgive me for what I'm about to do. Forgive me for all of my sins, past sins, present sins, any future sins.
In May last week, from New York Times, I'm Michael Barbaro. This is The Daily. Today, the mass shooting that occurred in May last week, killing 18 people, was the country's deadliest of the year. It may also have been one of the most avoidable.
The first 911 call coming in around 7 p.m. from a local bowling alley that was hosting a youth night for a kids' bowling league.
We have an active shooter. We have multiple injuries.
Authorities releasing these surveillance images showing the suspect they're looking for. His name is Robert Card, and he's pictured armed with an AR-15 style rifle.
Mr. Card is considered armed and dangerous, and police advise that Maine people should not approach him under any circumstances.
Megan Hutchinson and her 10-year-old daughter Zoe were at the bowling alley. Zoe's leg grazed by a bullet.
I never thought I'd grow up and get a bullet in my leg. Why? Why do people do this?
After allegedly shooting several people inside the bowling alley, Card is believed to have traveled about 4 miles to a local bar and restaurant. Sources tell ABC News that Card has a history of military service and is a firearms.
What do you mean by that? It's happening at work?
At work, I had to quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So,
what were they saying at work?
And everywhere, so yeah.
What do you mean by that?
A lot of sense.
What do you mean by that? It's happening at work?
At work, I had to quit my job, go to a different place to try to leave it, and then it's there as well. So,
what were they saying at work?
Huh?
What kind of stuff were they?
Yeah, I'm a pedophile. I like little boys. I like little girls.
And what kind of stuff were your friends talking about?
Same exact stuff. It's the same thing.
Do the people at where you work know the people that you serve with?
They live in Lewiston. They're all somewhat close areas.
But do they know each other? Do they know each other?
I don't know.
So when you say you hear bits and pieces, how do you hear the bits and pieces?
Just throwing in conversations, or when I try.
Pinpoint one person, it's everybody, it's all the time, and so it discredits your character and your state of mind, which, starts to make everybody believe something's wrong with you, and then you start believing something's wrong with you, but it's not you, and you know that it's not you. It's just hard to prove, but don't go get, mental health help. Don't see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Most of the time, they're involved too. Your police are involved, your firemen, ambulance, people at hospitals, they're all involved. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that gets a kick out of doing people like that. But it is what it is. The only thing you can do is stay strong and focus on the people you love. I was lucky enough to have my mother who was going through the same thing that I was going through. They started saying all kind of crazy stuff to her at her jobs. And
Okay. I mean, at what point this is too much? Now, I'm hearing this purpose trying to counter that. It's like, it's abuse. And what they're trying to refer to is what Mia in middle school did to myself as a kid. But you just heard, and they had to exaggerate that, but you heard the sexual torture. You heard a woman that was being burned in the genitals so bad that she will go in shock. But in fact, one part of this of her testimonial says that she was trying to get painkillers, but I don't know if she said she had to drink beer or beers or something like that. I hope it's not beers, but to try to kill the pain, because she will go in shock because the way they burn her genitals. Then you hear a 4-year-old Down syndrome child, a 5-year-old Down syndrome with Down syndrome being tortured sexually. Well, based on what this target individual said, and as you can hear the noise campaign, they're making the dog bark because they try to counter this. Listen to the neighbors trying to stop this. Oh, they just stop. But according to this target individual called Mariana, she says she saw those two 4-year-old, 5-year-old little girls with Down syndrome grabbing their genitals because they were in pain. They were sexually torturing these kids the same way this woman described, at least similar ways, where the genitals are tortured. Now you understand this trash involved in that. You have this clown next door which also they got quiet because they know I'm going to record them and it's going to sound like what they do. And when I record them and you hear them, you just understand what it is. That this trash know very well what this program is about, how disgusting they are to children, the torture that consists of sexual torturing children, the way you heard this woman was tortured. And you hear this trash like, no, that's not real. We'll watch you suffer. I'd rather suffer in hell than be connected to anything that you just heard. I'd rather die in hell than having to counter the torture of these women and children so you can live your life deluded of reality. Where somehow this trash involved in what you just heard are protective of children, and then the manipulation of the thoughts. If you saw who talked to you, the perps and how low life they are, you're like, no, it's you when mapped and busy working for pedophiles. You see how the level of pedophilia issue that we just heard in regard to these entities running this program. Of course, I know this low life here making this nose campaign talk about now you pay just the bottom feeders working for these governmental entities. It's obvious the Department of Defense is running this show. They use this trash here to try to counter reality. The entities running this program are ranked in the top tier for child porn trafficking in 2018. They were ranked that high. They had a bill just to try to stop the amount of child porn they were downloading using the computers given to them by the Department of Defense. Using the Department of Defense computers. And you have trash here like, now you pay. How much humiliation can one lifetime have? For me, when I see them truly for what they are. They can send the top tier. For me, I have children around me to say, nah, you're trash just because they sold you dumbass into this thing. Now you're here trying to counter this. If you forget what they do to children, let me just put this in slow motion. You heard this woman talk about how she gave sexual torture. If you forgot about that, listen to this real quick.
Hey, I just woke up after a pretty rough night. The same thing happened last night as the night before, which was whenever I was trying to go to sleep, the private parts of my body began being burned again. Things that I faced. So today, just kind of just feeling some pretty general fear about my own safety. Because the government's burning the private parts of my body.
So you just heard this woman literally saying, the government is burning the private part of my body, right? They do this target of the genitals. Matter of fact, as I'm saying that right now, they're doing things for my back, my spine cord, which is something she mentioned too. But I don't want to bring that up because I want to make you understand that this sexual torture that this woman talks about is similar to what this woman talks about when she witnessed these children that she's teaching go through. Listen to them.
And I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "Ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions.
So you hear what kind of things they do with the sexual torture. As I was saying that, as I was listening to that, they were trying to bring up the manipulation they can make you have via this technology, which you heard too. The validation that they do these tactics of manipulation is there. But people who have problem with pedophilia in these agencies, and then you have this bottom feeders just being incentivized by whatever ways to partake in this. But entities with pedophilia issues, that's just so obvious. Now, this coward lowlife can do all these horrible things to us as easy as he gets. They're nothing impressive. You know, as I open the door, try to see how brave they are. Oh, the bravery is just evident. I just pray that they live this life of lowlifeness for the rest of their life. Let them enjoy this godly empowerment they get. It's going to come with a price to pay that is magical. Death comes to all of us. I'm thankful that before I died, I get to see what lowlifeness is. And they know I'll see them for that. They're going to do everything possible to counter the reality of what they're involved in. They are trash and lowlife, and I will see them as that. They can do all the noise campaign. They can do everything they can to try to play this fantasy of what this is about. But the humiliation of reality in every levels. Like I said, torturing children, check. Sexually torture, check. Torturing women, check. Sexually torturing them, check. Causing mass shooting, check. Manipulating the brain, check. Manipulating the brain in a pedophilia way, check. Entities running this program with pedophilia issue, check. A bill created because they're so pedophilia centric, check. By the way, for me, they think because they're women or females that it changed reality what this is about. Listen to this. Listen to how validating this thing is. Listen to what they try to present themselves as. This is what these people do. Then try to make you believe that, oh no, you know what? It's man, we're this feminist group. Listen to this.
But I was going to be shot in the face. And it was an older guy. He was like really, really disgruntled and pissed off. Yeah, just shot in the face. You know, sound like an angry ass old person. You know, then a couple of days later, a female said the same thing. Don't get shot in the face. You know, stupid shit like that. But what I really noticed is with the Voice of Skull, it's a bunch of females. You know, and I'm like, bro, really? You're not a woman. What real woman would stalk another female or sit back and allow that to go on? You really think they?
You know what they do to try to counter that? Oh, they're gonna shank you. They're gonna fist. Alright, they get fisted, shanked, torture, cut in pieces, then live the life that these trash live. They live life countering the reality of what they're involved in because they've been humiliated. There's a lot of females involved in the program that torture a lot of women. And they were supposed to present themselves with this femme fatales, my clown, trash, low lives. Thank you, God, that before whatever horrible things happens to me, I get to see things for what they are. They're gonna get theirs. These are just the warnings that somehow they should kind of connect with. But not today. Escape into that fantasy. Block out these obvious things. Tell yourself this is our reality. The deluded reality they put together. Until the reality hits them. One way or another. To all my target individual, to all my targeted individuals, stay strong and never identify with any of this nastiness, from the facade to the manipulations, to whatever they try to paint themselves, to however they make you think, and to however they try to present what's happening to you as. Stay strong.